Finley, did you watch the video?
Okay. I'm going to start off just. Yesterday I should have done a little bit with this, but I didn't. And so we're going to kind of combine two things into one today. The first thing that I'm going to just talk briefly about is how we can use proportions with the metric system. Okay? If we're using proportions with the metric system, as with everything with the with proportion, the first fraction is going to come from our conversion. Now, what is important to remember is that the unit that is lower on the steps will always get the 1. And then for step 2, because it's proportion, the rule is what's on top stays on top. Okay? The proportion meaning that we're setting them equal to. And then lastly, we solve like proportions, we cross multiply to solve. Okay, so the example that I would give you is, let's say we have 25 grams equals blank milligrams. And so if we do the first step, the first fraction comes from the conversion. So when we set up our proportion, our first fraction comes from the steps. And as I said, the unit that is lower always gets the 1. Well, which is lower, grams or milligrams?
Milligrams.
Which is lower on the steps?
Grams.
The grams. So the grams always gets the 1, or whatever is lower. Now, 1 gram is equal to how many milligrams? Well, how many steps up is it? 3. So it would be 1,000 milligrams. For every step up, we simply add a 0. Does that make sense to everybody? The one that's lower always gets the 1. However many steps up the other unit is, that's how many zeros you're going to put with that unit.
But you do like 25 times 30.
Well, hold on. So now, we go with any proportion. What's on top stays on top. Milligrams are on top, so we keep them on top. We don't know that, so the X goes with the milligrams. And then grams on the bottom, and we have the 25 grams. Okay, Hayden?
That was the question. How did you get 1,000?
Because 1 gram is equal to 1,000 milligrams. That's the ratio. Got it? And so then we cross multiply to solve. 1 times x is x. And 25 times 1,000 would be 25,000. So 25 grams would be 25,000 milligrams. If we do another example, let's say we have 9 4/10. Bless you. Holy cats equals blank meters. Okay, once again, the first fraction comes from our conversion. Which is lower on the steps, centimeters or meters? Meters. So the 1 goes with the meters. The one end is lower. Now, how many steps up is centimeters? 2. So for centimeters, we're going to have 100 because there's two steps, 2 zeros. Does that make sense? Okay, then once again, we go with the idea of whatever's on top stays on top. Since centimeters are on top, the 9 4/10 centimeters stays on top. What is on bottom is meters. We want to find meters, so the x goes on the bottom. And so now we cross multiply, and we get 100x equals 1 times 9 4/10 would be 9 4/10. And so then we would divide both sides by the 100. And if you divide it out, move that decimal up. I need to add a 0 because 100 needs to go into 940. And then I would go 9 times. That 9 would go above the 0. I'm going to put that 0 in place of the 4. 9 times 100 is 900. Subtract, I get 40. Add another 0. Bring that 0 down. And there's the 4. 400. Subtract, you get 0. And your answer would be 94,000 meters. So that is what I want to talk a little bit about. What your homework tonight's going to be about is something completely different. Okay? So, turn to your next page. Finding percent. Now, percent is based out of 100. Okay? No matter what test you take, whenever you're given a percent, what they're doing is basically taking the fraction that you got correct out of the number possible, and they're saying at that ratio how many you would get correct if there was 100 questions. Okay? So percent is based out of 100. So, the first thing that you do when you're finding percent, bless you, is you're going to make a fraction which would be parts over the total. Then the next thing you're going to do, you're going to change it to a decimal. And how do you change a fraction to a decimal? Divide the top by the bottom. And then, to change the decimal to a percent. And the way you change a decimal to a percent is simply move the decimal 2 places to the right. Okay, so example. Let's say we have, and we'll just use this class. We have 2, 4, 6, 8 boys. And we have 4 girls.
We have 10. We have 5 girls in this class.
In here right now. So 8 boys and 4 girls. So if we want to find the percent of boys, there are 8 boys out of the total of 12. So the fraction would be 8 to 12. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to change that fraction to a decimal by dividing the top by the bottom. Now, when we deal with percents, you might as well get in the habit of putting a decimal and adding 2 zeros. Now, why do you think you want to put a decimal and add 2 zeros?
Because it's out of 100.
It is out of 100. Why else?
Because it's probably not going to go into just 0.0.
It probably won't. But in step 3, it says move the decimal 2 places to the right. So you put the decimal and add 2 zeros because you're going to have to go 2 places to the right anyway. Okay? So now we move the decimal up. 12 goes into 86 times. 6 times 12 is 72. Subtract, I get 8. Bring down that 0. 12 goes into 86 times. 6 times 12 is 72. Subtract, I get 8. Now, if by chance, anytime you're finding percent, and it doesn't work out evenly, we're always going to go one more place. So in this situation, it didn't work out evenly. We're going to go one more place. So now 12 goes into 86 times. 6 times 12 is 72. Subtract, I get 8. And this is what we call a repeating decimal. I'm going to stop at that point. Okay, so now as a decimal, 8/12 is 0.666666666. It keeps on going forever. Now, step 3 is change the decimal to a percent. So we're going to move the decimal 2 places to the right. So we move this decimal 2 places to the right, 1, 2, and as a percent, it would be 66 and 6/10%. The reason we go one more place is a lot of times they're going to ask you to round it to the nearest percent. So now we're going to round to that 6. We're going to look at that 6. That 6 is going to tell us to round up. And so rounded, it would go to 67%. Okay? So that's why we go one more place, just in case it doesn't work out evenly, we can round it. Okay? Any questions? Okay? But there's a way to get the boards.